So in this video, I'm going to show you how to hand quilt these big chunky stitches. Alright, so go over supplies really fast, and if you are familiar with my chunky stitch binding, it's the exact same thing, except instead of doing this on your binding, you're doing it through all 3 layers of your quilt top. So first, I like this big number 8 thread by DMC. It's really thick, so it's going to show up really well on your quilt. I mean, it's gonna pop. Like I said, a thick thread, so I like a thick needle, and this is a Ashiko needle, and it has a really large eye, so I don't have any issues getting the thread through my eye, and also I don't have any issues getting through all 3 layers or dropping my needle or anything like that, because the needle is thick and long and easy to hold on to. I just like this rubber thimble. I just feel like I can maneuver a little bit better in it than some of the other ones, like the completely rubber ones. This one's got a metal tip, so I can push the needle through when I need to without, having it come at my finger. And these are just a pair of snips from Havells, and I like them because of the curved edge. It kind of helps you get in there and cut your thread without worrying about cutting the quilt. So I'm going to work from the smaller spool since I'm almost done with it, and I just kind of cut this maybe arm's length, so not that long, and in one end I'm going to tie a knot, just a basic simple knot. It's going to look something like that. Put it right in the needle, so easy peasy. So I've already started quilting this. I've been working on it several nights, and I'm just kind of doing down the middle of the sashing, and I'm just eyeballing it. So if you needed to, you could go and mark your lines with a Hera marker or a disappearing marker, however you want to do it, but this is going to be good enough for me, just eyeballing it right down the center of all of my sashing. So I keep my left hand underneath the quilt, kind of just propping it up like this, and I usually kind of do this maneuver with my fingers, just kind of pulling it taut. To come in to start your quilting, to get started, you're going to come in at an angle. So I'm going to put my needle in, and I'm only going through the top layer of my quilt top, so I'm careful not to hit that batting, and I'm careful not to go through all 3 layers of the quilt, because I don't want this part showing on the other side. And I'm going to get the needle, I'm going to have it come out in line with my other stitches, push it through, and when I pull it, it's going to catch on the knot, but I'm going to give it a tug. You'll hear it pop and pull it on in. If it has a tail that didn't come all the way in, you just cut that off, no problem. And then you just start running stitching. And you can make your stitches as long as you want them. I like them to be pretty short. And you want to shoot for consistency here, so you want to be making the space about the same as your stitch. And you want to try to keep it the same every time. You'll notice that I'm only going 1 stitch at a time. If you want to, you could do this little maneuver. Out, in, out. I feel like trying to get that accurate takes more time than it does for just me to push the needle in 1 stitch at a time. So I pretty much just do 1 stitch at a time the whole time, because I just feel like it's faster and more accurate for me. So you may feel clumsy when you first start, and that's okay. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it, so don't worry about any kind of clumsiness. All right, when I feel like I don't need to go any further, and this is about as much thread as I usually stop at, so I don't want to wait until the very end. But when I feel like it's time to stop, I will just take my finger, and I'm going to loop my needle right through there like that, and I'm making another knot, but I want my knot to be as close to the quilt as I can possibly get it, which isn't always super close. Then I'm going to put my next stitch in, but instead of going through all 3 layers of the quilt top, I'm just going to go through this top layer, and I'm going to end this just the same way that I started it. So I'm just going through the top layer, and I'm going to come out at an angle, And then I'm going to pop this knot into the quilt top. Like that. And then I will cut the thread, scratch it to make it disappear. And that is how I stop and start. So with my next thread, I will just do the same thing, pop it back in here, and then continue going. And that is how to chunky hand quilt.